Hi, my name is Antonia Ruppel, and I would like to tell you a little bit about Sanskrit 307, which is going to be Yogic Studies' first ever kavya course. Now, kavya is a Sanskrit term that's typically translated into English just as poetry. And the thing about poetry, about poetic language, is that it enmeshes form and function. I, as the poet, would say something that I consider worth saying, but I'll also say it in a way that is worth listening to or worth reading. Take a very simple English example. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. We here have a short and simple poem that expresses an innocent, positive, loving emotion that evokes gentle feelings. Maybe it made you smile. And it does so in sweet, simple, everyday words. You probably wouldn't have to look any of them up to understand what they mean. It uses simple form, it uses simple rhyme. Now, if we were to translate this poem, maybe in my target language, which I translate into, the word for blue wouldn't rhyme with the word for you. Maybe in my target language, the word for rose was nowhere near as beautiful as the English word rose. Maybe it's longer, maybe it doesn't sound nice. So many things that would make it unsuitable for the context of this poem. Maybe the country where my target language is spoken in doesn't have roses and violets or refined sugar. Maybe it has them, but they've got completely different connotations. Maybe they're the kind of flower where, if you're told the name, you kind of have to Google it and look it up and look at a picture to see, oh, it's that kind of flower. Yeah, I think I've seen that. And so if I was to translate this poem literally, maybe I wouldn't get my message across at all because the words I'm using don't have the effect, don't have the connotations I want them to have. Maybe I would get the message across, but I would be doing so in a form that is rather different from this simple, straightforward, easy, loving, beautiful form of the English original. Maybe to get my message across, I would change quite a bit about the content. Instead of roses and violets, maybe I'd refer to different flowers. Or maybe in my target language, fruits have the same connotations, the same love relations as in English roses do. Maybe I would refer to honey rather than sugar. But point is, I would probably have to change quite a bit to translate properly, nicely, beautifully, even this relatively simple poem. Now, kavya is poetry, yes, but it is poetry that follows a number of refined, artful, intricate conventions that govern or that affect how you express even simple things, the words that you use for even everyday things, such as a window or a road, the kinds of comparisons you make, the kinds of imagery that you use to evoke a specific mood, in the same way that roses are red evokes innocent, smiling love. And so as a result, if you were to read a translation of such a kavya text, it's very unlikely that the translation will have been able to keep true to the original combination of the original form and the original contents. And that's why it's typically said that kavya is best read, best understood, best enjoyed if you read it in the original. And so that's exactly what we will be doing in Sanskrit 307. We will be reading the first half of the Meghaduta, the Cloud Messenger, which is a poem by Kālidāsa. Kālidāsa is an early master of kavya, and many people say he is the master of kavya. And in class, I will show you why people say that and maybe even make you one of those people. So what's the poem about? A young man is separated from his love, and he sees a cloud going up above, high up in the sky, in the direction where his love is. And as one does in such a situation, he addresses the cloud and asks it to pass on a message to his beloved. And he then goes on imagining all the things that the cloud would see on its way north, the things it would experience, the reactions it would evoke in the people on the ground below it. And so, in effect, this poem is a description of many, many facets of, quite simply, life. But it remains a difficult text to read And when you're reading a difficult text, the teacher, which would be me, is in control of how difficult to make this experience for the students, which hopefully is going to be some of you. I could ask you to read the text just with the help of a dictionary and a grammar, which would mean you'd learn a lot. But you would also take a very long time, and the experience would often be quite frustrating. I could, on the other hand, also tell you, well, you know what, just read a pretty translation. In which case you would have read a beautiful translation. It wouldn't have taken you very long at all, but oh, the things you would have missed along the way. So what we'll be doing is one of the many possible paths in between. I will give you the resources that you need to simply access all the formal elements. So you'll get a vocab list, for each verse. I will give you notes telling you, this is that and that verb form. This means, this has that and that meaning, and so on. So I will give you the technical, the grammatical basis, and then in class, every class, we will work together on combining all these formal elements, the words, the endings, the morphology, the syntax, the compounds, in order to see how these combinations create poetry, beauty, art. And I'll use the first session to give you a bit of a background on kavya, on Kālidāsa. We'll talk about learning techniques, preparation techniques for a class, how you can get the most out of a class, even when it's a week where you're really hard pressed for time, that sort of thing. And then the rest of the course, we will be reading around 4 verses per session. Now, I'm hugely looking forward to this. I hope a few of you will decide to join me. The class starts on, and this is where I will have to cheat. Classes start on Monday, May the 6th. So maybe see some of you there. Take care.